Have you ever come across a situation where you need to bring in the relevant data from a set of cells which satisfy your condition? Like you are given the data set of rank holders from different universities and you need to make a separate documentation of those who secured first rank from all those universities. I know how tiring it is to check for the person who secured first rank from a single sheet. Imagine how would it be to get the details from different universities. You need to go through each of the sheet, identify who secured first, and then get it documented separately. Instead of doing this, how simple would it be if all these would be done by someone else, that too without taking much time? Yes, it can be made possible in the platform Microsoft Excel using Vlookup function. I am Tony Tom and I'll be guiding you on how to use the function Vlookup on the platform Microsoft Excel. So join me and let's learn about Vlookup function. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on this video any queries or suggestions and I will respond to your comments. Let's move on and identify what the agenda is for the video. What is Vlookup function? Vlookup function is actually a prominent and useful tool available to us in the platform Microsoft Excel. I am sure that at least some of you might be knowing what is Vlookup function or have heard about Vlookup function, right? So in this video, I'll be talking about Vlookup function and having a clear idea onto you so that you are having no doubts on what is Vlookup function. How does Vlookup function work? So just by understanding what Vlookup function is not good, right? So after understanding, we should be knowing how to implement this tool in the platform Microsoft Excel. So I'll be taking care of that after making you understand what is Vlookup function. Vlookup from different sheet or workbook. Are you guys aware that we can not only perform the function Vlookup on the same sheet, but also on a different sheet or even from a different workbook? Isn't that great? How to copy Vlookup formula. After implementing Vlookup function to a particular cell, what if you want to copy that function and paste it to some other cells where you want to be using Vlookup function? So that is also made possible in the platform Microsoft Excel, and I'll also be teaching you how to copy a Vlookup formula. Vlookup multiple values. What if you want to implement the function Vlookup not just to one particular cell but to a group of cells? Is that possible? Yes, it is. We'll be able to implement Vlookup function to a group of cells from the data where we want to be importing that to the particular cells which we need to. That is also made possible in the platform Microsoft Excel, and I'll also be teaching to you how to do that. Vlookup largest and smallest formula. We are also given the opportunity to bring in just the largest or the smallest value which we need to be bringing to that particular cells of our requirement. So that is also made possible in the Vlookup function which is provided by Microsoft Excel. So these are the basic topics which I'll be covering in this video. Let's begin with what is Vlookup function. Let me honestly tell you that Vlookup function is the most simplest method to bring in the relevant data to any worksheet. You can bring in data from the same worksheet you're working on or even from a different worksheet. At the same time, you can also bring in data from a completely different workbook as well. Isn't that interesting? So let me explain to you how Vlookup function works in actual case. Consider that you are given the ordering details of certain products, which contains product ID, ordering date, and all those stuffs are there. But you need to bring in the product name with respect to the product ID of each of the products which have been ordered. That can be implemented, or the product name can be brought into that details by implementing Vlookup function. So with respect to the product ID, you will be able to bring in the product name by using the Vlookup function in the Microsoft Excel. So I'll be teaching you how to implement this in the platform Microsoft Excel. Before that, let me explain on what is the syntax for using Vlookup function. Initially, we should start with Vlookup, and in brackets, we should write lookup value. So with respect to which cell are you trying to bring in the data? So that cell should be selected in lookup value. After selecting that, you can give comma and select the table array. you can select the table array from which you need to bring in the data to that particular cell, right? So you can make the selection of the table array after this. After comma, you can get the column index number. So you have already selected the table array from which you need to be bringing in the data to that particular cell, right? So in that table array, from which column are you trying to get the data? So in the column array, if it's in the third column, you can write 3, or if it's in the fifth column, you can write 5. Then comma, true or false, like if you want to get the approximate value or the exact match. That can be selected by giving true or false. Close the bracket and hit enter so that you'll be getting the relevant data in that particular cell. Now let's directly move on to the platform Microsoft Excel and try implementing Vlookup function there. Now we are in the platform Microsoft Excel and we'll be learning here how to implement Vlookup function in the platform Microsoft Excel. Let's begin. So in this sheet, we are having the data of the ordering details, and towards the right here, we'll be having the data of the products which they have been ordered. So in the left side, we are having the order placing date. These are the order placing date in the column A. In column B, we are having the customers who have placed the orders. In column C, we have the product ID, refers to the product which they have ordered. And in column D, we are having the units, number of units which they have ordered, right? So towards the right, we are having the details of the product which they have ordered, right? In the column H, we are having the product ID. And in the column I, we are having the product names corresponding to the product ID, and in the column J, we are having the price of each of the items. Now let's see how to implement Vlookup function in the platform Microsoft Excel. See, towards the left, we know these many data are there, but there is no product name. So by looking at the data on the left, we'll not be able to identify which product they have ordered, but only we'll be knowing the product ID, right? So in column B, say I want to get the product name there. So product name. So I'm telling that in column E, I should be getting the product name corresponding to the column C, which gives product ID, right? So we'll be able to implement Vlookup function on column E. Vlookup syntax is Vlookup, you can press tab, and then here we'll be able to see lookup value. So with respect to which cell are you trying to get in the value in the particular cell? That is what is meant by lookup value. So I'm trying to get the product name with respect to the product ID, right? So in this row, the product ID which is coming is 5. So I've selected C2, comma, and table array. Table array is nothing but selecting the number of cells or selecting the table array from which we want to import the data to that particular cell. So here the table array would be this, right? So we have selected the table array where it contains the product ID, product name, and price. That is the data from which we need to be importing the value to that particular cell. So I have selected the table array, then comma, and column index number. So we have already selected the table array, right? So in that table array, in which column is the relevant data to which it should be transported? So in the table array, we know in product ID will be the column 1, product name will be the column 2, price will be column 3. So we need to be getting the product name. The product name is in which column? In column number 2, right? In column number 2 in the given selection. So I am writing 2, comma, and pressing tab, closing the bracket and hitting enter. See, here now we got the product name as bucket. Let's confirm. In product ID 5, see, it's bucket itself. So with respect to the product ID, we are getting the product name. Without even going to this data and finding out which is product ID 5, it is bucket. So without even going to this data, we'll be directly getting the product name by using the formula Vlookup function. Let's say like this, we need to bring in the price as well, right? So in column F, I need the price. So price, and in that column, let's apply the Vlookup formula, Vlookup. Let's just press tab there. Vlookup, lookup value. The lookup value will be the same, product ID, comma, table array. Table array will also be the same. So select the table array. I'll select the table array, comma, and select the column in column index number. So price comes under which column? Column number 3. 1, 2, 3. So column number 3, comma, press tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, let's confirm that. In bucket, how much is the price? 5, bucket 250. So just by giving the Vlookup function, we are getting the value from another data and trying to implement that data in the particular cell which we want it to be. Now let's try to implement Vlookup function in a different sheet and then in a different workbook as well. So let's move to a different sheet. So in details, I'm moving to a different sheet where we are having the same details here: product ID, product name, and product price. Okay, so now what we need to do is, from this table array, we'll need to be importing data from this table array to that particular cell. So let's see how that can be done. So let's say for Bobby, for the purchase Bobby has done, I am using the data from a different sheet. So I'm getting the product name here as well. So equals to Vlookup, press tab, and the lookup value will be 15 here. Since for Bobby the product ID is 15, I am choosing the cell C3 which contains 15, comma, and now is a place where we're gonna be implementing the change. The table array from which we need to be importing data is from a different sheet, right? So what we need to do is go to that particular sheet and then simply select the data. So we have already selected the table array and hit comma and select the column index number. So we are trying to get the product name, right? So it is in column number 2, comma, tab, close the bracket, hit enter. See, let's confirm that product ID 15 will be stapler. It is stapler, right? So we have taken the data from a different sheet to this sheet. So let's try implementing that for the price as well. Equal to Vlookup tab, product ID will be coming in C3, comma, table array moving to the different sheet, selecting the table array. Select the table array, column number 3, the price is in column number 3, comma, tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, we have got the price for the stapler. The stapler cost 225 and it is showing 225 itself. Now let's try implementing Vlookup function from a different workbook itself. So for that, let's open a new workbook. Yes, I've opened a new workbook. Let's copy the details here. So I'm copying the details, copy, paste. I'm arranging it. Yeah. Now we have copied the details to a different workbook, right? Now let's start implementing it in a different workbook. So in row 4 for Kiran, I am getting it from a different workbook. So let's see how that can be done. Equals to Vlookup, press tab, and now let's look for the lookup value, which is nothing but this one, which is C4 corresponding to that row, and comma, let's select the table array. So here, while selecting the table array, we need to import the data from a different workbook, right? So we need to go to that workbook and select the table array. So selecting the table array. So this is the table array which I want to be selecting. I've selected that, hit comma. So in which column is the data which I want to be importing? So that column index number of product name will be 2, comma, hit tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, I've imported the data of product name corresponding to the product ID 4. Product ID 4 is bottle itself. Have implemented Vlookup function from a different workbook itself. Let's see that for the price also. Vlookup, press tab. So the lookup value will be just the same, comma, the table array. I'm moving to the different worksheet, different workbook. I've selected that, comma, the price will be in column 3, comma, tab, close the bracket and hit enter. See, we have got the price of bottle from a completely different workbook. So now we have understood how to implement Vlookup function in the same sheet, in a different sheet, and also in a different workbook as well. Now let's see how we'll be able to copy the Vlookup formula in Microsoft Excel. Right. For that, let me do the Vlookup formula right now. Vlookup, lookup value would be C2, comma, the table array which I would want to be selecting is this, comma, column index number for the product name. The column index number in the table array is 2, right? It comes in the second column, 2, comma, and then tab, close the bracket and hit enter. So we have got the Vlookup function in this particular cell. So try to copy it vertically down. So if I'm doing that, see, there is an error coming here, right? So mainly that is because in this cell, the table array is not locked. So we should be locking that, or else, while we are moving down the cells, the table array will also be moving. So we don't need that to happen. So we are locking it here. Press F4, and hit enter. And then copy it once again. See, now we are able to get the names of the product with respect to the product ID in the column E. So we have copied the VLOOKUP formula to all these cells. Let's check it here. So for 8, it's coloring book. Is it? Yeah. In the table, it is 8, it is coloring book. 4, it's bottle. 4 is bottle. And then say 5 is bucket. 5 is bucket. Yeah. So that we cross-checked as well. Now what if I'm trying to copy it to the right side? See, it's showing calculator. So why is it showing calculator when I'm copying it where I should be getting price here? Let me check for that. So in this cell, the formula here is the value which they're looking for is D2. The column in which they're looking for is 2. So in 2, you'll only be getting the product name. That is one thing to be changed. And the product ID they're looking for is on D2, which is 12, which is not a product ID but unit. But so what we need to do is we need to change that to C2, and this 2 to 3 since the price is coming on the third column, right? Press enter. See, we have got the value for the price of a bucket. So for the bucket, we are getting 250. So 250 is the price and 250 is reflecting in the cell as well. And now try copying this down. See, now we are able to copy this down as well. For Bobby, who purchased 17 stapler, and the cost of a stapler would be 225. See, 225. So for chocolates, it's 5. Let's say whereas chocolate is on 13th, which is costing 5. Chocolate is on 13th, which is costing rupees 5. See, we are able to copy the VLOOKUP function to all these cells, and we are able to get the relevant data in each of the particular cells, right? So now we have done copying VLOOKUP formula. Now let's understand in VLOOKUP function how we'll be able to bring in multiple values at once. For example, what if you need to apply VLOOKUP function at once for product name and price for all the cells here? So in one go, you need to get the product name and the price. So you need not go for product name at once and then implement that for price again. So here, by looking at VLOOKUP at multiple values, we'll be able to bring in both of them in one go. So we'll see how we'll be able to implement that. So let me implement that here. So VLOOKUP function. So the VLOOKUP value will be this, comma. So let me fix the column here so that the column will not be changing. So for that, I'll be implementing this, and I have to select the table array, right? So I'm selecting the table array here. Yes, that is done. And I'm also locking that. Pressing F4, comma, and I need the column index number here. So for product name, the column index number here would be 2, and for price, the column index number would be 3. So since we are having a dynamic column number, what we should be doing is we should be going for columns, open bracket, and we should be selecting the initial 2 cells. That is, this one is to I4, right? So make sure that you're fixing the product ID cell here. So that for that, we need to fix it here by pressing F4. Yeah, fix that as well. Close the bracket, comma, tab, close the bracket, hit enter. Now we have got the value here, which is bucket. For product ID, the product name is bucket here, right? So let's copy that to here. See, we are getting the value 250 here. We have only implemented one VLOOKUP function where we'll be getting the product name and price at the same time. And let's go down and see if we'll be able to copy it till the end. See, we have copied VLOOKUP function for the product name and the price in one go. We can also copy by simply double clicking on the right side bottom corner. See, so we have copied the product name with respect to the product ID and the price with respect to the product ID from this table array which we have selected. So we have learned how to implement multiple values at once using VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel. Now let's come to the final topic that we are going to discuss in this video in VLOOKUP function. The final topic is nothing but to bring in the largest or the smallest value of our concern to the particular cell. So let's see how we'll be able to implement that. I'm going to look at the price ranges and get the maximum price and the minimum price. So that will be the example which I'm going to take to implement the smallest value and the largest value through VLOOKUP function. So that in order to have a minimum value, let me write minimum here, and then here I should be getting the minimum value of the prices. Okay, so here let me apply the Vlookup function equals Vlookup, and then since we are going to find the smallest value, let me put min minimum, open bracket, then we'll be selecting the range. The range will be this much, so this is the range. I've selected the range, close bracket, comma, and table array. So the table array would also be the same, so let me select the table array. I've selected that as well, comma, and column index number. Since the range of selection and the table array are the same, so the column index number would be 1, comma, tab, close the bracket, and hit enter. See, we have got the minimum value in the price range. So let's check that: 10, 3, 3, 1, 20, 250, 10, 40, 70, 230, 80, 55, 210, 5, 40, 225. So in all these ranges, the minimum value would be 3, and we have got the right minimum value. So let me find out how to find the maximum value. So in order to find the maximum value, I'll be finding that here for the price range as well. Maximum value for your reference. So I'm applying the Vlookup function here, which is nothing but equals Vlookup and maximum value. Since we are finding the maximum value, I'm writing max, open bracket, I'm selecting the range from which I need to find the maximum value, close bracket, comma, table array. Since here the table array and the range would be the same, so I'm selecting the same thing again, and the column index number. Since the table array and the range is the same, so for us the column index number here would be 1, comma, and here we need the exact match, right? So I'll be putting 0 and then closing bracket, hit enter, and now I've got the maximum value, which is 250. Let me check here: 225, 210, 230, 250. There's no value which is greater than 250. So we have found out the method to implement Vlookup function for maximum and minimum values as well. Now we have come to the end of the video where we understood what is Vlookup function and how we'll be implementing Vlookup function as well. Apart from that, we also studied how to implement Vlookup function from different sheet or even from a different workbook, right? Apart from that, we also learned how to copy Vlookup formula and also to implement multiple values at the same time. So that's what we implemented here. So I needed to get the product name and the price at the same time. So I got the multiple values at the same time in one go. So we looked about that, and then we also ended up having a look at how to find the maximum and minimum value through Vlookup function. So I hope that you had a good session here where you were able to understand what lookup function is and also how to implement Vlookup function in the platform Microsoft Excel. Thank you for watching the video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on this video any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.